Hi, so the Fonzamon Community Reforestation Project is an NGO based in Trinidad and Tobago. I am Kemba Jaramogi, and today I'm going to share with you a bit more about what we do and how we keep our doors open.
So, Kemba, FSCRP, as it's called for short, has been a pioneer in forest fire prevention and reforestation for decades. So, this is a two-parter question. What inspired the founding of this movement, and how has that mission evolved over the years?
So the organization was founded back in 1982 by the late Takuma Jaramogi and Akila Jaramogi, who are both my parents. Um, my dad, Takuma, he was a forester and he was also into agriculture and planting and doing short term crops and that kind of thing. But this entire watershed was affected by the annual bush and forest fires. And some people may know that Trinidad, we are faced with, and Tobago is faced with bush and forest fires every year. And this is due to a cultural practice of cleaning by burning, especially areas that are not within the traditional garbage collection route or areas that are faced with illegal dumping. So there's a lot of precursors to why fires will happen in such communities. Um, in Fonzamon here, we had the issue of both, where you had people illegally dumping, you had where people were cleaning by burning, and you also had people cleaning for slash and burn farming and agriculture practices. So, really changing those patterns of behavior to have a positive impact on our natural environment, and then subsequently lead to more advocacy work in bush and forest fire prevention, suppression, and reforestation in the rainy season. Mhm.
So, you mentioned something about watersheds. What is a watershed? Why are we talking about sheds with water on top of it?
So I mean, that's quite funny when we talk about watershed. Very often, people just have this image in their minds that it's a shed covering some barrels of water. A watershed is a geographical term for the landmass where it has several tributaries that feed into a water basin. So, for example, we have the St. Anne's watershed, which has water tributaries from the Fonzamon River, from the Arapita River, from the Cascade River, from the Hololo springs and rivers that forms that basin of water that then flows into the Caroni watershed basin. All right. So when we talk about it, we think about it as this landmass of water running in a main river where we have all these small tributaries of water, which typically could be from gorges, ravines, small rivers, that kind of thing. So that is what a watershed is.
Wow, who knew there were so many rivers running into the Caroni? Wow, I just learned something new today. So, let's talk about something else bushfires and why awareness and education is important. So, many of your campaigns has focused on fire prevention.
Mhm.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about bushfires in Trinidad and Tobago? And how does FACRP is working on changing these practices?
I think advocacy is always going to be at the forefront because one of the things that we learn in terms of bush and forest fire management, it is easier, well, we believe it's easier to prevent fires than it is to extinguish a fire in the peak of the dry season where we have so many impacts from climate change, be the strong winds, be the intense heat, the inconsistent rainfall, the very dry vegetation that makes it so easy for a fire to spread and to spread rapidly. So that is what we want to curtail the possibilities of having to risk life and limb to fight these fires. So prevention is foremost one of our greatest areas to moving forward that we would continue to advocate for. When we look at what we do in terms of our advocacy work, is making sure that we have different types of content or just messages to impact um, different scenarios that may lead to fire. So, as I would have mentioned previously, the communities that face illegal dumping, um, dogs, wild dogs, stray dogs have a huge impact because they go and mash up the garbage bin and tear up all the rubbish. And then some do good citizen would be like, oh, the place is a mess. Let me go and burn up this garbage, And it's always a do gooder, And we have the history and patterns of cleaning by burning. So if people get to know, get a bit more aware of what happens when there's a fire and how much we lost. So that is one of the other reasons we started showcasing the biodiversity of the forest, how rich the forest is with wildlife. So a lot of our advocacy tools would be actually showcasing, all the insects, the bugs, the wildlife that we have within our forest, so people can be a bit more connected to the forest. And we have this little catchy saying to demystify the bush, to let people be more connected. So it's not just hearing the word bush and thinking, oh gosh, I don't want to go in there and get mosquito bite. And it might be good that the fire can smoke all the mosquitoes out, but what is actually lost, right? So it's a lot of vegetation, flora, and fauna. Yeah, trying to do that. Just literally, you have to relax yourself.
So we have a little puppy in the room, and this dives in nicely into the next question I have for you. You're often spotlighting community members and volunteers, and a puppy is an excellent community member. Can you share a powerful story of someone whose life was changed through
Mm.
involvement in FACRP?
Oh wow. Um, I think it's very interesting for us here at Fonzamon because from since 1982 to now, we've been heavily reliant on strategic partnerships, on volunteers, on community members who give up their time, especially during the dry season when we're doing surveillance for bush and forest fires, just assisting in being able to have someone to call within the communities to identify where a fire may be coming from. So that is like some of the key ways in which people support. That doesn't require you to run up and down the mountain if you're not as fit as you would like to be. However, we have different types of volunteers and people that have supported us over the years. So from 1982 to 2000, we actually operated without any cash financing. So all we relied on was in-kind donations and people who donate their time to help us prepare for the fire season, to help us do reforestation. But as the organization started to evolve, we realized we needed to really compartmentalize the different activities of the organization, look at organizational modules, look at how we have volunteers that support different initiatives. So we used to have a bush and forest fire program during the dry season. We will start the dry season and we'll engage community members who would help to surveillance for forest fires. And that would be every year. So every year we would just be calling community members, helping us. Do you see a fire there? Could you tell us where the smoke is coming from, especially if it's very hazy and you can't really see clearly? So that is one side of it. For our annual bush and for our annual vacation camps, we have an ecoculture camp where we have more younger volunteers who would assist with the education and the art and the creative and the hiking and just getting our young people and our kids exposed to this type of activity during the July August vacation. So we usually have volunteers who are really special and dear to us who assist with that. We also have volunteers who come from different Caribbean islands, French Caribbean islands, who come here to do their internship as well as research opportunities. So they tend to focus their time when they're here on wildlife research and looking at the importance of biodiversity species and logging these species on site. We have other volunteers who come with different skill sets. So we're very happy when they have unique skill sets or that they can really, realize their true potential here. It may be in art and creativity and design. So they may help us design our books, our educational tools, design social media content, even design programs, posters, any advocacy tool. So here at Fonzamon, in-kind support is much well appreciated, as well to the other type of support that we need to manage an organization such as this.
So, Kemba, I see you mentioned earlier you were talking about partnerships. So, where
Mm.
can, if somebody wants to partner with you, where can they find you? How can they get in touch with FACRP?
So for partnership, the best way to start off, you can either send us an email at facrp2 at gmail.com or give me a call at, forget my phone number. Or you can give us a call. All our handles are on our social media handles. You could contact us. All our contact information is there. But however, for partnership, we always like to start off with a conversation. It's always great to know who we are aligning ourselves with and what are the goals. We have a lot of educational partners that we partner with. for students to gain experience in the field, to do different experimental um, environmental engineer projects to implement in the field here at Fonsamon. We also partner with other community organizations who wish to amplify the work that we do, as well as corporate sponsors who can support larger initiatives and have a longer lasting impact. Supporting our programs, such as our annual Bush and Forest Fire Prevention GAIAP, which is our fire programming, or our reforestation activities, or even support the advancement of our clean tree organic nurseries, which facilitate the seedlings for reforestation. um, Partners could also partner with us in terms of our research. So, right now, we want to focus quite a lot on research, which will actually showcase the benefits of reforestation. Very often, people just think reforestation is just about planting trees. But then the question I beg to ask when people have that discourse is, when you hear forest, what do you think about it? Or what do you know a forest have in it? We have water, we have reservoirs, we have ravines, we have so many different wildlife, we have such immaculate views, we have such rich biodiversity, fruit bearing trees, orchids, so much amazing things we can find in the forest. So I think that focus on documenting and showcasing and making sure people understand what we are protecting, I think these are some things that are of value. And I think it's within our human right as well to benefit from this moving forward. So if we spend time sharing this information, getting more into schools, working with a lot more school children than we currently work with, um, helping to shape the consciousness not just of school children and university students, but also even in your work environment. So another way to support is groups who would like to do their team building day, which we've had in the past, like corporate groups. You can come here, you can plant trees, you can spend the day, you can, enjoy our nice fruit juices and food and so on here. But you can pay for that service, and all the proceeds go towards the organization and our ongoing goals. Mhm.
Wow, that is a lot. So come on, folks, come on down. So let's dive into some youth engagement now.
Mhm.
Your Instagram shows vibrant youth participation in the Atlantic Environmental Education Series, AEES for short. Why is reaching young people such a key part of your strategy? And what impact have you seen so far?
When it comes to educating youth, educating children, I think it's very important to start young, because that's where your consciousness is formed. And many child psychologists has this thing well documented. You, in your formidable years, in your 0 to 5 years, even from your 6 to 12-year-old, you learn so much. And the way how children see the world is different from when we get old and we just have to focus on bills, 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 and where we want to see our career advancing and different things like that. Children have the luxury of dreaming. They have the luxury to dream and imagine a different world. And I think for us to fill them with better images about our environment, about why is it important, about the importance of clean air, the importance of using renewable energies when you can, the importance of preserving our local food and fruit culture, which means we have to plant local and fruit trees. One of the shocking things for us now is that 20 years ago, if we spoke to a group of children, they would be able to rattle off a list of local fruit trees. Now that is not so common. So we realize that culture is also ecoculture, right? And eco means life. So how are we living our lives in partnership with nature, in collaboration with nature, in harmony with nature? And that needs to start young. We can't wait until we're so old to then figure out how are we going to connect to nature and why is it important. It needs to be something that is built into our programming, and for us to have that ongoing appreciation and love and care and concern for our natural environment. So it's very important that we get young people actively involved in either conservation, just simply learning about it, or doing work and getting their hands dirty. So when we talk about the action that happens here, the students, they get their hands dirty out in the field, they get to walk the trails, they get to learn in the field. So it forms part of our field school initiative, where students have been coming here since 1997, to learn out in the field. To get your hands dirty is one thing, learning in the classroom, which is very important. But it's also an important side of the coin to see things being played out in real life and understanding how these things work. So we are thankful for all the donors, volunteers, and everyone who has supported us in the past, and we welcome new partnerships to continue the advancement of the work. Mhm.